Have a few minutes? You won't believe what you can do with it. Open a Regions checking account online in as little as 5 minutes. Then enjoy award-winning service and banking tools and tech that help you live in the moment. Learn more at regions.com/live in the moment. Regions Bank, member FDIC.
Broadcasting live from the Subaru of Gwinnett studio in the Gas South Convention Center, it's time for Gwinnett Business Radio. Gwinnett Business Radio is presented by Regions Bank, member FDIC.
And greetings and salutations, all listeners of Gwinnett Business Radio here on Business RadioX. It is your slightly annoying host, Stephen Julian, sitting alongside my wonderful co-host, Harper LaBelle, here inside the Gas South Convention Center in the Subaru of Gwinnett studios. Harper,
we had a new voice.
The third voice in the last few shows that I can remember.
That
I think
previous guy's voice, we got to get rid of that guy.
Yeah.
We had to get rid of him.
Yeah, at least that part of it.
Yeah. So we got everything's changing.
Everything's changing.
Right before our very eyes or ears.
One of the things that changes every show, and I think it's a change for the better, is we have wonderful new guests every show. And today we have Joy Monroe from the Single Parent Alliance and Resource Center, otherwise known as SPARC. Get excited to talk to her in just a second. And also one other change today.
What's that?
You and I, it's a little tease for the end. We're going to do something you and I have never done before at the very end of the show. So that's why people should listen to the very end of the show.
You're going to dance like you do when that music comes on and you start popping and going back.
You turn away every show. You turn away, and you did this time, and I did not dance. I made one little move, and then I stopped.
That's all it took.
Yeah. So
even Joy was moving a little bit. She had a little bit of hip shake.
Wait till we get our YouTube channel, then it'll take off. I'll be a viral sensation. But you guys aren't here to listen to us banter. You're really here to listen to our guest, Joy Monroe from SPARC, the Single Parent Alliance and Resource Center. Joy, welcome to the studio.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm excited about being here today.
Absolutely. So SPARC is a nonprofit, a 501c3.
Yes.
Tell everybody about what it is you guys do.
So we are, as you can tell from our name, spoiler alert, we focus on single-parent families.
No way. Really?
I know. That's why I said a spoiler work. There was no way for you to know that, so that's why I had to tell you.
Yeah.
But we focus primarily on single-parent families, but we do not turn any family away. If a husband and wife come in and want to take advantage of our services, we welcome them as well. But when we do our outreach, we target it towards single-parent, and we target our messaging towards single parents, but we serve all families. So we primarily offer a few programs. Our office is located inside an apartment complex here in Gwinnett. So we serve all of the families that live at that apartment complex. We offer a free after-school program for the children in elementary school who live there, and it's every day that Gwinnett County Schools is open from 3 to 6 p.m. So it's homework help, it's some tutoring. We try to do some enrichment, play some games, definitely give kids a snack because they're absolutely starving when they come in from school. We also offer a free full-day summer camp for the same students so parents can work without stressing about how much childcare costs, because childcare costs are astronomical, but also because we want to make sure that our students are set up for academic success. And our students at this particular complex usually start out kind of below the academic achievement level. So we try to get all of our students on or above grade level. So we really are heavily focused on academics with a focus in literacy and math.
So
is that all? Yeah, and I'm teasing.
No.
Now you said you're the CEO, CFO, CI. You've got all kinds of C's in your titles.
Yes.
You started this. Tell us about the founding of it and the reason behind helping and assisting single parents.
Well, it started because my mom was a single mom. And even like as a child, I could see all of the challenges that she had to face. And it always struck me as odd that she was doing this all by herself. It always seemed like a lot of my friends had moms and dads. And so I was like, well, my mom is just herself, and this seems like a lot. So I'm probably not going to do this when I grow up. So the solution to that, I thought, was to marry young. But that was not the solution because it meant that you're divorced young. So there I was, a young single mom with 2 boys, and my mom had 4 girls. So I had grown up in this world of women. So there I was with these 2 boys, and boys are different from girls.
No way.
A little bit.
That's a shocker.
Really?
There's another spoiler alert.
Another
for you.
spoiler shocker.
Yeah, so I was learning that. Like in the beginning, I wasn't worried. I was married. So I had a husband, I had his dad, I had his brother. So I was okay. But when I was divorced and it was me and the boys, I was like, so this will be a challenge. But I was living in New York. His family was still close. My family was still close. So I was just really kind of surrounded. And so we were really doing okay. And so all of the things that I had read about single parenthood and all of the negative statistics that I had seen weren't really affecting me. And so, of course, genius that I was, still young, I thought, well, this is because I am the bomb.com when it comes to single moms, and I'm doing all the right things, and it's really about me and what I'm doing. This is why it's great. So I'm going to take all of this bomb.com, and I'm going to move to Atlanta where I don't have any family. And so everyone in my life, of course, was horrified because they were older and wiser. But I was young, and, you know, young people are invincible, and we know everything. So I was like, no, I'm going to go to Atlanta. We'll be fine. Spoiler alert, we were not fine when we got here. So being a single mom with no support versus being a single mom surrounded by support, I came to the conclusion that it was my support network that was actually the bomb.com and not necessarily me, Joy Monroe, single mom in my 20s with 2 little boys in a land where I know no one.
Invincible.
Yeah. But I started to feel a little vincible at that point. But what I did was I started looking around, and I was like, I cannot be the only rocket scientist who made this decision, because Atlanta is the only place that I've lived where the question is, hey, what's your name and where are you from? So I realized there had to be other people around my age with children by themselves who had also made this slightly less than intelligent move like I did. And so I started with the parents of my son's friends. And so we really just started getting together in my place on the weekend talking about, my God, what have we done? And what are we going to do? And talking about being a single parent and what does it mean? And I had boys, and a lot of them had boys too. And single moms raising sons, it's different because think about it. If you walk into a bookstore, which, you know, I don't know that we do anymore. So if you look online at a bookstore, usually the largest selection is the relationship section. And it's because women don't understand men, and men, certainly, no bashing, don't understand women.
Not even close to the bomb.com when it comes to that.
There's another spoiler alert, Stephen.
Yeah.
She's filling us with
Man,
all this
a lot of
information.
wisdom.
Yeah.
Right. So if men don't understand women and women don't understand men, how does a woman raise a male child if you have no understanding how men think, how they operate, what motivates them, if you don't understand those things, how they communicate? So ever the researcher, we would get together and we'd have fun, we'd cook, the kids would play, but I was always doing research on single parenting. So we would talk about it. And so I'd always have, it could be considered a workshop, but I like to call it a conversation and a discussion. And so we have a different topic every week. We talk about communication, we talk about discipline, you know, and then we got to the point where we started getting comfortable and we wanted to have a social life. So half of us would keep the kids one night and let the other half go out, and then we'd switch it off. And so it just really started to work. And so the principal started hearing parents talk about it at the elementary school. And so she said, you know, you could serve more parents if you bring it into the school. And so I said, well, okay. So we started meeting at the school. And then my pastor heard about it, and he's like, really? You're doing this out in the world, but you're not doing it here? And I was like, oh, I'm happy to bring it here too, sir. So I started doing it at the church as well. And it really just started to grow. And from that, somebody said, Joy, what you're doing is actually a business. It's called a nonprofit, and you should incorporate, and that's what you should do. And so that's why I'm sitting here today, because that's kind of how it happened.
Wow. So we are speaking with Joy Monroe. She is the founder, CEO, CFO, CIO. She is the bomb.com because she has created this network around her own life. And this is SPARC, the Single Parent Alliance and Resource Center, is kind of the outgrowth of her own journey that she just shared with us. So you started by kind of talking about this apartment complex as mainly the central hub, I guess is my word. So let's kind of talk about that and where it is today, because you are in the schools, you are in a church and maybe multiple churches, and but the hub is kind of this apartment complex, and it I guess, is it fair for me to say that a lot of what your organization is doing kind of starts with housing? Is that one of the main things when it comes to being a single parent? Yes,
that's kind of where we've kind of transitioned into, and I think that happened mainly during COVID. We were doing a lot of things that were in person, you know, a lot of workshops, a lot of let's get together, let's see each other. But when COVID hit, we really started to focus on families. And for our housing program is primarily focused on families that live in extended stay motels.
Okay.
So we have a program that we call Motel to Home, and we provide outreach to families living in extended stay motels. And we have a specific demographic that we're looking for. I mean, of course, we start with our single parents that are living there, but we are looking for families that have lived in an extended stay motel who can afford to pay that weekly motel rate, which is quite expensive, but who pay that every week, pay it on time, pay it consistently, who could actually afford to pay rent in an apartment, but because motel rates are so high, they can't afford to save what they need for the move. So that's the gap that we fill. So we will help families with the security deposit and the first month's rent so that they can afford to move into an apartment, and then they can pay the rent going forward.
I think and I'm going to lift my hand and say I may. So one of my roles, I'm slightly annoying, and one of the things is I'm given one question on every show that is the stupidest question possible to ask, and I'm not thrown out of the studio. That's my role.
He's so faithful to do that too.
Yes,
He's
and I'm on a good streak of
Okay.
not being thrown out or
Impressive.
not having that, not having someone say that's stupid. So let's try, because I'm going to raise my hand and say that when someone hears that explanation, that one of the main starting points is families and or single parents who are in extended stay motels, and they are meeting the requirement to make those payments. How big of a number is that? Because I think a lot of people might, if they were honest, go, well, it can't be that many, because I don't see people being able to do that. Is there a decent sized population? Is this something that there's more than just a couple of those out there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There was a study done by the Southern Poverty Law Center, and they estimate 25,000 families in the metro Atlanta area. In Atlanta, 25,000 families.
That are doing that.
That
They're
are doing
living in
that. They're
extended
living
stay
in
motels.
extended stay motels, and that's their home. School buses come and pick up children and take them to school every day from motels.
And the bridge you're trying to provide is, and I think that's huge, is people go, well, they're meeting that bill, but they can't take that next step because you got to save up money to move. You got to save up money to do a deposit,
Yes.
to do, and all that kind of
Right.
stuff. So paycheck to paycheck is, that's a huge issue.
It is.
So does SPARC step in and help kind of cover that, kind of help them take that step by helping them save or helping them meet some of that need? Talk specifically. And the other reason I'm asking that question is I'm sure if there are businesses listening, if there are people with philanthropic hearts or want to give to a specific cause, this can be a great way to take that first step to helping SPARC. So what is it you guys do specifically?
So we pay the security deposit and the first month's rent. And so what we've done, which I think is unique, is because for the most part, people are concerned about homelessness. And if you ask anyone, if you could stop homelessness, would you stop? And they say, oh, I would absolutely stop it. We're all concerned about that. But trying to end homelessness, we have not, all of the agencies working together, we have not successfully ended homelessness. So what SPARC does is we focus on, but can you end homelessness for one family? And if you could end it for one family, would you do that? And most people would say, well, yeah, I would do it for one family. So we've quantified that. $2,500 ends homelessness for one family. The majority of our moves are $2,500 or less.
And the reason it ends it is because this family has already shown they
Yes.
can do a budget, they can meet their needs,
Yes.
they can kind of handle if they can change their situation from an extended stay motel. And a lot of times, tell me if I'm wrong, but moving from an extended stay hotel to the right apartment situation, there are times where their monthly bill would go down.
Yes, it'll absolutely. Sometimes with our families, it's cheaper for them to live in an apartment of their own than it is for them to live in a motel, and they're considered homeless. Their children are also considered homeless, living in an extended stay. So it's cheaper for them to be stably housed than it is for them to be homeless.
So I'm going to say that question I just asked, not stupid, right?
Not stupid at all.
Because and it wasn't stupid because of your great answer. So anyone listening, if you want to take a step, if you want to take a tangible step to end homelessness for one family, $2,500 donation to SPARC is a great first step someone could take, and one family could be affected. So I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to try again because this may be stupid as well. You talked about your main hub is the apartment complex that you're kind of heavily involved in with the after school program, the full day summer camp, the academic focus you guys give to the students, and the snacks after school. Is this something, are you starting to potentially multiply to other apartment complexes? Because you talked about the need around Metro Atlanta. So
Yes.
talk a little bit about other apartment complexes you're either in or want to get in.
So what we do, and it's been called now the New Neighborhood Initiative, because where I grew up I grew up in New York, and on my block, everybody on our block knew everyone else. So I can go across the street to Diane's house. I can go up the street to Maureen's house, next door to Paul's house. All of the parents knew us. We could be back and forth in everyone's house on our block. Well, now apartment complexes are what is considered the new neighborhood. But what's missing is that neighborhood component that goes back 1,000 years to when I was a child. So when I lived in an apartment complex, funny story, it's absolutely true. Tanya, if you're listening, I tell this story every time I go anywhere. But it was Christmas time, and at Christmas, we sponsor our families, and we get sponsors who will come in, and we'll give them the wish list of a family. They'll provide gifts, and then we send that to the family. And so I was working the phones, and a woman called, and she wanted to put her daughter on the list, and so I was taking her information, and I said, okay, and what's your address? And she gave me her address, and hers was 704, and mine was 706. And I was like,
she was right next door to you.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Now, I had seen her in the parking lot. We'd wave, hadn't really spoken. I didn't know her name. And so that day, we committed to meet that day. But this was my neighbor, and I had no idea who she was. So in apartment complexes, you tend to isolate, and single parents are particularly famous for isolating. It's me and my child against the world. But so what we do is we like to go into apartment complexes, and we like to create activities where neighbors get to connect with each other, build that sense of community. Also, what it stops is if you're connected to your neighborhood, you're less likely to move. So you're less likely to take your child out of school and put them in another school mid-year, because that's a difficult transition for children. You're less likely to work hard to stay where you are and to be connected and build that sense of community. So we are looking for other apartment complexes that we can come in and set up this new neighborhood initiative. Another program that we offer after families are housed, and for any family that we work with, we offer what we call the Financial Achievement Club. And that's where we work with families for 6 months. There was a study done by the Federal Reserve Board a few years ago. And at the time, they concluded that 40% of families in America cannot meet a $400 emergency expense. Now, that number has dropped. Now I think it's about 38 or 37. It's in that neighborhood now. But at the time when they did this study, it was 40% of Americans can't meet a $400 emergency expense. So, and a lot of our families that were living in motels, as we're interviewing and finding out, well, how did you get here? As you said, they were living paycheck to paycheck. Something happens that's not in the budget. They don't have extra money. So they take from their rent to cover, and for my poor single moms, it's mostly cars. Single moms and their cars is nothing but drama. Something goes wrong with the car. You need the car to go to work. So you take your rent money to fix the car. You can't replace the rent money. Now you're in a motel. So what we do is we offer a financial achievement club. And once families are housed or they're in any of our other programs, we work with them for 6 months on their budget. Families that have been living in motels have a week-to-week budget. When you move into an apartment, that budget transitions to month. So we help them with that transition, making sure their budget is intact, and we encourage them to save. And at this point, you can save whatever you can. But you have to make monthly savings deposits because we're trying to instill that habit of savings. After 6 months, we look at your savings, and we will match your savings up to $500. So our families can then have $1,000 in an emergency savings account so that now you're stably housed. Now you have this emergency savings account. So if something happens, you are no longer in that 40% of families who can't meet a $400 expense because you now have $1,000 in a savings account. And for single parents, it's especially important. I love to provide the match because single parents have this, again, it's me and my child against the world. But our philosophy is single does not mean alone. So you save, we save. And at the end of the day, you now have $1,000 in a savings account. So the chances of you being housed and stable remain that way. For our families that live in apartment complexes, we're preventing you losing your housing so that if something happens to you, you'd never have to go to the motel. You take it from your savings, and because you've built this habit of savings, when you take it from your savings, you begin to replace it. And so that's pretty much how families need to live. That's life. That's what happens.
Joy, it sounds like the infinite wisdom that you came here from New York, right? You were invincible and all that. No, and in all seriousness, there are a lot of folks that don't know how to plan or to budget or to put money away. They don't think about that. Whatever I get, I'm going to spend it. I need to get food. I need to have a place to live. I need clothing. And then when a tire emergency comes up and you have to get a new set of tires, oops, we didn't plan for that. So your ability to be able to, where are you now? And let's help you get where you need to be.
Yes.
That's, I think, the connecting point that a lot of people, no, I've got this. I can do this by myself. What was the transition for you to where you said, I think I can do something? I know you said that at the beginning of the show you were meeting with people and you were having communique with a lot of folks and just getting together and sharing. And we go out this week and we don't go out. We let you go out next week. When did the idea and the concept for you to say, I think I'm able to help others? I've learned enough now to where I'm able to share what I know and benefit other people. How did that happen for you?
So I think it's still happening. I was having a conversation on the way over here with one of my younger moms about, when you try to help people or give people advice, you sometimes can come off as, you need to do it this way because it's the way that I've done it and it works. So just do what I did.
Well, everyone has the recipe for the common cold, don't they?
Correct.
And after all, you're thebomb.com.
Right. Yes. And so what I was trying to tell her is sometimes I'm telling you what to do because I did the opposite and it blew up in my face. And so I'm trying to prevent you from making the same mistakes that I made. And I had this blog for a while, and a woman she pretty much approached me that way. She's like, you're always on here giving advice and always telling us this is the way to do things. I mean, it must be because you did everything great. And I was like, no, I kind of learned 3 ways. One, either I did do it great and it worked, and I'm telling you to do it this way because I did it and it worked.
Yeah.
I said, but oftentimes it's because I try to learn from my mistakes. One of my favorite quotes is, I never lose, either I win or I learn. So when I blow something up, which I will blow something up. So when I blow something up, I at least want to go back and look and say, okay, Joy, let's see what you did here, because we probably need to never do this again. So let's learn from it.
Yeah.
So sometimes, I can teach from my mistakes. And then again, I said, ever the researcher. I'm always reading, studying, learning, because I'm always also trying to prevent. It's easier to prevent than to intervene. So a lot of our programs, Motel to Home is an intervention program. You're in the motel. So we're trying to help you transition out of that. But the Financial Achievement Club, that's prevention. We're trying to prevent homelessness for families by giving that cushion. What we do at Bradford with the after-school program and the summer camp, that's prevention. Because if education is the great equalizer and our children are underperforming academically, then we're not going to be able to achieve equity for children living in single-parent homes. So let's work hard on the prevention piece.
Joy, I love hearing what you're saying, but you're taking ownership, really. There's a leadership quality that I did this with my family, and now I know I can help you with your family. Even if you don't take all my advice, I have an infinite amount of wisdom, and I want to see you prosper.
Well, and I think that I want to see you prosper. At the end of the day, that's really what this is. If you look at the statistics for single parents, it really says, good luck, but that's probably not going to work out for you. But at SPARC, we believe you can. Now, it takes more work on our part. It also takes more work on the part of the community, to provide resources for these families specifically. But we believe that single parents can succeed. Listen, every day in my life was not a great life. Every moment of my single parenting was not successful, even for my children. Every single moment of their life, because they had me as a mom, didn't mean that, oh, hey, they're going to be the bomb.com in every area. No, we've all had struggles. We've all had mistakes. We've all had moments. Well, we hope nobody saw that. But overall, we believe that single parents can succeed and they can raise happy, healthy, well-adjusted, successful children. It just takes more work on our part. So we try to equip parents with what it takes for you to do that extra work and try to provide the extra resources to their children so they can have the same outcomes as children from 2-parent homes.
I think one of the things I've learned the most in this short time with you is I love how you guys really have drilled down on one of the first steps and one of the most important steps. Let's get some family from motel into long-term living, into an apartment, and then let's start building from there. I think you've been quoted as saying kind of housing is not enough. Beyond, once you get that housing, these things like the financial literacy club and some of and the educational stuff with the children, you're talking about very, very long-term. Not a lot of, so getting from a motel into an apartment, that's, and I'm not going to say instant gratification, but it's 30-day gratification, 60-day gratification.
Yes.
Some of these other things, you're talking about, it takes years.
It does. So it's easy for us to say, and when we're talking about our success, it's easy for us to say, we've housed almost 300 families. We have taken them from extended stay motels, and they're now functioning, and they're in apartments of their own, and so they've gone from homeless to housed. Those are easy numbers. What's hard to see is when I get moms who call me, and like this is happening this year, when I get moms who call me and they say, Jasmine has been accepted to 8 colleges. And so now we have to make this decision of where she goes. And so you think to yourself, and then like they put out the post and they're thanking the people that were in their village that helped their daughter get there, and you're one of the people that they thank. So those are the things that are harder to measure, but they mean just as much to us as housing a family who was living in an extended stay motel, because we want to set children up for success. And if you as a single mom didn't get to go to college, but now you are helping your daughter go because you had just a little extra help, and now your daughter's trajectory will be different than yours, I mean, those things matter as well.
Yeah.
The website has ways that you can sign up and learn more.
Yes.
Is that specifically for the people that are talk about the membership? I want to ask this question. It is a membership, so what you're asking is for people to make a commitment.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So we have all different ways that people can get engaged and volunteer. So we do outreach actually on site at motels. So an outreach event is a great way to get involved, and that means that we show up at a motel with permission. We show up at a motel. We bring resources with us. I mean, right now, back to school supplies are in hot demand. So we'll show up with school supplies. Families will come out and we'll give them school supplies. Usually we'll have food as well, and we'll talk to them about what is your situation? Because again, motel to home is for a specific demographic of families living. You have to be able to sustain yourself in a motel in order to be able to sustain yourself in an apartment. So we identify those families, and then we begin to help them move. So outreach is a great way to get involved. If you don't want to come to outreach, you're welcome to sponsor an outreach event. So that's also on our website. For how you can sponsor an outreach event, and then we'll go and do the work and give you all the credit for that. But there's also, if you wanted to make a donation, that's on our website as well. We're always looking for volunteers to come into our after-school program, help students with their homework. We also have a program called Book Buddies, which is our pandemic-born program, because remember, we were very hands-on. Our after-school program had to close. We couldn't offer summer camp. So we came up with a virtual way to ensure that our students at least stayed on track with literacy. So with Book Buddies, we have adults from the community. We do have to run background checks because you're working with children. So we have adults from the community who volunteer to listen to a child read twice a week for 30 minutes. So we pair you with a student. You'll set your schedule 2 days a week. You'll log on to our Zoom session. Our students have access to a virtual library. They select their book. They share their screen. You listen to them read. You help them with their words if they get a little bit stuck. You ask comprehensive questions. You also, at that point, just really begin to form a relationship, because it's also our way of providing a student with another caring adult, kind of a mentoring program, but it's focused on literacy. And what we found with that is not only do our students improve with literacy, but we also try to secretly, not so secretly, instill a love for reading in our students, so that it's not a chore. Oh, I have to read. But they look forward to getting with their volunteer and knowing that they're going to read to them. So we're trying to instill a love of reading. We're trying to increase out-of-school reading time, because this is after school. And we're also trying to make sure that all of the students, every student that we touch, reads at least on or above grade level and not below.
So anyone who wants to be involved anyway, financially, time, sponsoring an event, going to an event, reading buddies, any of that stuff, they all go through the website.
They can all go through the website.
So what is that website?
www.singleparent411.org.
No bomb in the name?
Just nobomb.com. Nothing. Just
That's personal, Stephen. This is her business. Yeah, her business. The personal one is Joy's the bomb.
Singleparent411.org, and everything they'd want to know or get started communicating. And by the way, this is for individuals, businesses looking to give back, businesses with a team who wants to get involved in their community.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
we host block parties at the apartment complex where we're located. So if you wanted to have a team come out and just serve a bunch of families, we offer that as well. We are always taking volunteers in our Book Buddies program. We can, as a team, you could do an outreach event, all different kind of ways. If you're one person, if you're a group of people, I mean, single does not mean alone. We teach that to our parents, but as an agency, we practice that as well.
And anything given financially is tax deductible because you're a 501c3.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Yep.
Listen, I my day job is as a financial advisor, independent financial advisor. I always look at return on investment.
Yes.
What better return on investment someone than to move a family from motel to apartment living?
Yes.
What better investment than to give to the matching contribution for financial literacy, taking those steps?
Yes.
I mean, come on, let's make it happen.
Yes. What we actually have is we call it the hands approach. because it's housing and savings. So H for housing and S for savings. So it's the hands approach. So if anybody wants to join us and be hands on deck with families that are living in extended stay motels, we welcome the partnership.
She's the bomb at acronyms. I'll give her that. Holy cow. I mean, that's fantastic.
Well, what I think is really fantastic about what you're doing is there are people that are giving everything they have. They're working a job, maybe two, and they're doing everything possible. They're struggling just a little bit, but they don't know what the next step would be. Please have somebody teach me or help me to get down the right path. And because you've been on the wrong path a couple of times and the right one as well, you can help lead people to where they need to be so that they can, one, have a much better financial situation for their housing and for the water, the heat, the electrical, all the other stuff. There should be additional savings that somebody has. It may not be a lot, but it's some, and there's money that it wasn't there before.
Right.
And you've got a bigger place to stay.
Yes.
And you don't have to worry about, refrigeration or certain things. I love the concept and the idea and the fact that you're helping so many people, but one family at a time. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Joy Monroe, founder, CEO, CFO, CIO, and thebomb.com of SPARC. And actually, you're not the bomb, the entire organization, right?
Well, that's
your
what I was
entire
gonna
team.
say,
Talk
yeah.
about your team real quick. Let me let you wrap up with your
So
team.
let me brag about my team. And I can also brag about some of our partners because, again, when I say single does not mean alone, I will say that when I started SPARC, I did think single meant alone. So I was doing it by myself. But we've had some funders come on board. One of our primary funders is United Way. And United Way is a different kind of funder because they are more of a partner. They fund you, but they're more of a partner in your work. So it was one of my contacts at United Way who said, so is SPARC just you? Like, do you have a team? And then he was like, get a team. So now our team is, so when I say that we go out to apartment complexes, I go to some of them, but I do have a motel to home coach, and Ariel is phenomenal. You ask her to house, like, let's say we can house 5 families a month, and she will house 10. So she really is phenomenal. She goes she's really, there's something about when you go do an outreach. One of the most impactful outreaches that I went to, we were at this motel. We were in DeKalb County, as a matter of fact. And we were feeding families, and we were giving the kids sandwiches and slices of pizza. And so they all took their plates and they went and sat on the dumpster to eat. And they did that like that's what they do. And so I was looking around to see, but where else would they go? There's no playground. There are no tables. It's a parking lot. And so that just touched me in a different way, because you don't want children to think that that's okay, that that's what you do, that you take your food and go sit on a dumpster. But for some families, that is what's happening. So it's things like that you see that motivate you to just want to do more. Candace, who's my Financial Achievement Club coach, when I listen in the last session when they're doing program review, when everyone has done their savings and they know their match and everybody's excited, what I really like to hear are some of the families saying, Candace, thank you for what you've done. I don't know that I would have saved this without you calling me and coaching me and, and making sure that I was doing my savings. Because in the beginning, sometimes it is a little bit heavy-handed on the coaching, because if you're not used to saving, you need these reminders. But what happens is when you start to see your savings account grow, in the beginning, it's a lot. It's heavy, Candace, but at the end, it's really heavy on the parent for them to get it done, and they're excited about it too. So I'm just really excited about the team that I have and how hard they work. And it used to be that SPARC really was just me, but now each of my coaches, everybody owns their own program. They have their own investments. They all try to exceed what they're doing. For Candace, you're supposed to match the savings up to $500. Candace tells her families, we need to make sure that you get most of the match. What can we do to save $500? Let's look at your budget. What can we cut? Where can you save? Can you increase your income? Like, she's really passionate about, if there's $500 on the table, let's see how we can get you as much of this $500 match as possible. And so she really could say, well, they were able to save $100, and so we matched at $100. But she really pushes and coaches and coaxes. Coaxes is a good word. Coaxes and urges them to save as much as they can, and listening to the parents as they share, where they've been able to cut and how some of the ideas were theirs. Some of the ideas came from the group, because yes, SPARC is here and we're here to help you, but we also want you to build that community that I left. So build that community so it's not just you, and you guys can help each other as well.
Love it. Joy Monroe from SPARC, Single Parent Alliance and Resource Center. Your team and your organization is the bomb. So thank you very much for being here. Singleparent411.org. Any individual or business or group or team that wants to really make an impact in the community, moving families into permanent housing and helping them down the long road of improving their financial situation, get involved any way that you can. Joy, thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you for having me. This was great.
Absolutely. Harper, I started and said, hey, I was going to give a tease, something we've never done before. I mean, it always pales in comparison. Anything you and I do pales in comparison to our guests, but even more so today, I feel very invincible, to steal a word from Joy, of what I said we're going to do and kind of gave a tease.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about our proud sponsor, and hopefully
we're
they
doing
can be
both
a part.
at the end. That's the point.
Yeah. We're doing both of our ads, if you will, at the end. But we love having Joy, and love is what makes a Subaru a Subaru. Subaru of Gwinnett is a proud partner here of Business RadioX and putting shows together like what we have here done today. Enjoy the big savings and the hassle-free experience at Subaru of Gwinnett, where people help sell you the car that you're going to get in the future. And speaking of future, the 2024s are on the way. They'll be here within a month or so. So visit SubaruofGwinnett.com. Join their family today. You can come in and see the difference. If you're already a Subaruist, then you can check out their Facebook page for the latest news offers and community events.
Speaking of Subaru of Gwinnett, we love them. And speaking of financial future of families in the area, we're also here to talk about your business's financial future. And Regions Commercial Banking can help you stay on track. They have a team of experienced bankers in Gwinnett who can guide you in all areas of growth. Get the resources you need so every step can move you closer to your business goals. Maybe goals like giving back to the community.
How about
like
that?
We heard today.
Yeah.
To learn more, visit regions.com/commercial-banking. Regions Bank.
Member
FDIC. And then on the page it says 5 next to it. I don't know why it says that. I think that's a typo, but oh wait, I said that on the show. My bad. So
we'll take care of that.
Absolutely.
Just like we had a new voice during the introduction.
Yeah, that's
we're
right.
going to have a new ad sheet.
Dan will clean that up.
Yeah.
In produce, because we thank Dan for producing. We thank Mike for being in the studio back there, probably ready for us to end the show and ready to kick me out of the studio, not you guys, but just me. So
I thought you weren't getting kicked out because
that was for the bad question, but I'm getting kicked out for he hates when I delay the end of the show.
He says, "Get it."
He stood up. He's standing at the.
I'm not looking.
he's giving me the wrap up signal, and
there's going to be a large shepherd's hook around your shoulder in just a second.
Well, this was a fantastic show. Joy was wonderful. So glad she was in the studio. Harper, it was a pleasure to do the show with you. It's now time to take our press photos, and so for Harper and for Dan and for Mike, who's ready for me to wrap up the show, and for our guest Joy, this is Stephen Julian saying I will be slightly annoying next time on Gwinnett Business Radio.